You've probably heard a lot about the circular economy, right? This big idea of a world with zero waste. But have you ever stopped to wonder how a system that complex could actually work? Well, it needs a brain. And today, we're going to see how data is becoming that central intelligence, creating a much smarter and way more sustainable world.
This quote from our source material just nails it. It's not just about, collecting a bunch of data. It's about building a central intelligence, a thinking system that guides every single decision from how a product is designed all the way to its end of life.
So what is this brain exactly? Well, data-driven circularity is all about pulling together information from every single stage of a product's life. I'm talking its design, its supply chain, how you use it, and even how it gets recycled. All that info gets fed into the system to make the whole thing smarter and radically more efficient.
Okay, so any brain needs a nervous system to collect information, right? It needs senses to understand what's going on. The Sustainable Manufacturing Intelligence Framework actually lays out 4 key senses that feed our circular economy brain. Let's break them down.
First up, we've got connected products. Think of this as the brain's sense of touch. Imagine your washing machine or maybe a massive industrial pump packed with IoT sensors. They're constantly beaming back real-time data about how they're performing, their overall health, and how they're being used out in the real world.
The second sense is customer interaction, which is kind of like the brain's ability to hear. This is all the data from customer feedback, product reviews, and just understanding how people actually use and feel about something. It's a direct line to what the user really needs and wants. Third is the business ecosystem. This one provides a kind of spatial awareness. It's the data that tracks all the materials and components as they move through the entire supply chain and across different companies. So the system basically knows where everything is at all times.
And finally, sense number 4, internal IT systems. This is like the body monitoring its own internal health. It's all the data from a company's own production lines, keeping an eye on resource use and efficiency to make sure the system itself is running at peak performance.
All right, so the nervous system is doing its job, bringing in all this information through its senses. But now for the really cool part. How does the brain actually think? Let's look at how all this data gets processed using some incredibly powerful tech.
So the first step is all about memory and comprehension. You can think of big data as the brain's enormous long-term memory, just collecting and storing these huge data sets. But, memory isn't enough. You have to understand what it all means. That's where business intelligence, or BI, comes in. It takes all that raw data and turns it into charts, reports, actual insights you can act on.
Next, the brain needs to do 2 more things: predict and create. Predictive analytics uses machine learning to look at all that past data and forecast what's going to happen next, like predicting when a part in an elevator is about to fail. But then you've got generative AI. This is where it gets really mind-blowing. It doesn't just predict the future, it helps create a better one, running simulations to design innovative products that are durable, easy to repair, and recyclable from day one.
And listen, this is not just some sci-fi theory. It's happening right now. Take the company TK Elevator. They're using predictive maintenance on over 175,000 of their connected elevators. By analyzing data to predict failures before they happen, they have cut elevator downtime by up to 50%. That's the power of a thinking system in the real world.
That real-world impact is just incredible. But what does this look like across the entire life of one single product? To really bring this to life, let's follow a smart pump from a fictional company we'll call Smart Flow Pumps, Inc., and see how this brain makes circular choices at every single stage. All right, let's follow the journey. It all starts at the design stage, where generative AI creates a pump that's literally built to last and be recycled. Then, during distribution, data is used to optimize the entire supply chain. Once it's out in the world being used, those IoT sensors are always on, monitoring its health and enabling predictive maintenance. As it gets older, data helps the system decide exactly which parts can be refurbished. And finally, at its end of life, analytics help plan the absolute most efficient way to take it back and recycle it. See? At every step, the data brain is making the smart, circular choice.
So you're probably wondering, how do we keep track of all this info for one single product? Well, that's where something called the Digital Product Passport, or DPP, comes in. Think of it like a birth certificate, a full life story, and a resume all rolled into one for every single item. It's a digital record with everything from what it's made of to its repair history, and it's accessible to everyone, from the manufacturer to the recycler.
And this kind of detailed tracking, it's quickly becoming a necessity, not just a nice to have.
It's absolutely essential for keeping up with new regulations like right to repair laws or extended producer responsibility, where companies are on the hook for their product's end of life. Honestly, trying to comply with these rules without a solid data system is nearly impossible.
Look, building this data-driven brain for our entire economy is a huge undertaking. So let's get real for a second. What does it actually take to make this future a reality? Let's dive into the big hurdles and the key tools that manufacturers need to start building.
The challenges are pretty significant. First off, there's the high upfront cost for all the new infrastructure and software. Then you've got the struggle of just getting enough high-quality, standardized data to begin with. On top of that, a lot of companies are trying to plug these futuristic tools into really old, outdated systems. And maybe the biggest hurdle of all, it's the cultural shift, getting an entire organization to really start thinking in a data-centric and sustainable way.
So to tackle those challenges, companies need to build out a very specific digital toolkit. We're talking a solid big data infrastructure, getting really good at advanced analytics with AI and machine learning, and of course, integrating IoT into their products. It also means having secure platforms to share data, using tools for lifecycle assessment to measure environmental impact, and yep, you guessed it, implementing those digital product passports. This is basically the roadmap.
All of this leaves us with one final and, I think, fascinating question to chew on. We've talked about how data can create a brain for the entire circular economy. But as more and more individual products get their own little digital brain, knowing their own history, their own health, their own future, how is that going to fundamentally change our entire relationship with the very things we own?